This morning, Lucien and I got into a lovely conversation where basically what came through and what came out of this one is something that he was finding within himself that I was doing that was a turnoff for him. And I think my ego reacted to it because I kind of turned around and I was like, well, I can tell you all of my turnoffs. And he was like, yeah, let's do it. Let's go there. And so it kind of created this humorous energy around talking about our turnoffs that we have. And that's where this conversation and this code is coming from, because it was super fun and supportive and helpful for us, and we want to share it with you.
Yeah, and this is an extension of our compassionate communication exercise that we teach to couples in our Language of Love program. But it's focused on specifically turn-ons and turn-offs and turn-ons. And it really is the same practice that we teach, but we expand it. And here's what the core of it is that the core container for compassionate communication is that you set a very specific container that both parties agree that it's going to be safe, where you can just bring stuff forward and the other person is going to receive. And you have a back and forth where it's really practicing the offering and the receiving of both light and shadow. And we usually start with shadow and then we end with light. But we've never done it with turn-ons and turn-offs, like what really turns me off about you. And what's really interesting is, like, whether you've been in a relationship for a month or 3 months or a year, 3 years, you're gonna start accumulating turn-offs and turn-ons, and they'll come up in moments where they're usually happening. And it's like scratching something, like a cut or something. It's like cutting at the wound whenever you do that, especially if it's never been resolved or it's just something that keeps going. It just kind of gets more irritable every time you hear it, because you haven't really landed it. That's kind of what we've come to, is that you know if you don't really land it and you really hold space for it, it doesn't truly resolve itself in the energetic, because you don't feel fully heard, you don't feel that you're being received, and you don't feel like the energy is fully out, because maybe you didn't explain fully all the things or the nuances of what about that particular turnoff is bothering you. And also, because you're gonna follow it up with turn-ons, is what we do, is we end with the sexy or the positive or the connected. Then it gives you this beautiful tapestry that gives you a much holistic picture of your relationship, right? So, yeah.
So one of the things that I found was really important in our conversation was that when I shared the first one that was a turn off, Lucien's response was, oh yeah, totally, like, I get that, understand that, I am so willing to do whatever it takes to shift that, because it was something that he felt like for himself, right, and for me and for us, it's one of those ones that wants to be shifted, wants to be changed. And
it's a reflection that I also see in myself, and I'm grateful for that reflection. And I actually, my ego might be resistant to it in the moment, but when you have a container like that, the soul is able to be more present, and the soul is going to be like, yeah, that's got I probably don't want to do that anymore.
And then there are the ones that I might share a turn off for me, and he might really have a strong experience that I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. Doing that, I'm okay with being that, I'm okay, that's part of me, that's who I am. And so this container and this conversation, if you can give each other the space to shift or not shift, to want to evolve what is the turn off for you or not, and either way, it's just letting it out and letting it be seen and letting the other understand where you're at. Because I could really hate this necklace and be like, every time you wear this necklace, it just shuts off my pussy. And he could be like, well, like, this makes me feel like the most powerful dude on the planet. And so, you know, so there's got to be some sort of alchemy in that space where no expectation for your partner to shift just because you're telling them. You're really telling them so that they have the opportunity, they have the reflection, and you are listened to, you have the space to be heard and to be listened to.
It's super awesome. It's super releasing. It brings a lot of things forward. You can make adjustments, you can make new agreements in it. And just to be clear what the container is, it's an exchange where you start with the turn-offs. So I will say a turn-off, and then she'll say a turn-off, and I'll say a turn-off, and we keep going until we feel like
there's no more.
There's no more. And the more you receive it, the more humorous it kind of gets, because like
have fun with it.
Yeah, it's like receivership. It's like the more you receive, the less of the charge, and then you'll either find humor or you'll find compassion in it. You'll find humanity in it, and it's just beautiful. And then right at the end of that, you go into the turn-ons, and then that's just super hot. Yeah. And then you're just like, wow. And then it's a reminder of all the things that are just so good. And then
perhaps do it in the bed so that the turn-ons can lead to super turn-ons.
And that's what happened. You know what I'm saying, people? Yeah, do it in the bedroom. That's the highest recommendation, preferably nude. So, yes.
There you go.
There we go. That's a super magical spell for you. Yes.
We just started talking on top of each other, but hopefully you got both of that.
Yeah, maybe you did. So that's all part. It's the core technique of that, and many more as part of our Language of Love series. If you're interested in these vibes and you want to go deeper and you want to get a deeper taste of what this looks like in practice and some of the actual trainings, PM me, PM her, reach out, comment, go to the site.
There you go.
We'd love to see you there.
Yes.
Yay. Arrivederci. Bye.